Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday and welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa, where I have load shedding again. And you can see that my hair is a wild white woman from Africa, but that's a good thing. And another thing is my laptop might die a traumatic and tragic death towards the end, but I'm on, about another hour, so hopefully I'll make it through. And if not, I will just ask Caleb and Morné to continue, but I will definitely be back. Hello, Sonia. Nice to see us Cape Townians, yeah? And I don't know what other South Africans are here, but it's really cool to see us Sappers coming to the party, yeah, because it's been a while. Well, I must say I battled to connect, well, not to connect to South Africans, but they don't really like to hear about these things. So the more of us who are here, the happier we all are. But I'm really awesomely happy to have Caleb back with us again. How are you, Caleb? And actually, before we even go further, I'm going to ask you just to start the program for us in prayer again, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Just to let you guys know, I'm on the backside of a panic attack this morning. This happens from time to time, so just keep that in prayer, would you?
Mm-hmm.
Heavenly Father, I thank you for today. I thank you for helping me through this attack this morning and helping me be present and willing to speak and still standing tall. Thank you so much for everything that you do and who you are. I just ask that you bless us today with more knowledge, more understanding. Open our hearts, open our eyes, open our ears. I ask that you provide us for protection and you cover everything over with your love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And yes, it's really good. I know that you do get these attacks now, and I think that's what I was just trying to say to the viewers. I think it was on Friday or whenever we chatted the last time, that obviously with you disclosing the things that you are, there's a lot of that type of stuff that happens with you as well, on my side as well, but definitely not as obviously as intensely as with you. So I think if we can just bear that in mind, and I'm very happy that you made it through, and welcome to the other side of your experience there, Caleb.
It's not necessarily this disclosure, it's just PTSD in general. Yeah, I've been through an awful lot, and it gets to you sometimes. So,
yeah, indeed. But grateful to have you. Yeah. So thank you. Look, we were what we were doing last on Friday. We were talking about all the goodies, the dodgy things beneath the surfaces of the earth, and I think we came up with quite a few. Let's call them creatures of the night. I don't even like to say that, but there's just so much that's going on, and I think what you're giving us is a lot of information. I had something to ask you though. If we're going back to a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at the Cabbage Patch Hospital and stuff like that, and where it's situated, and it's near a mine, right? And we were talking about miners, as in MINERS, or minors, MINORS, right? So I'm interested to know your take on that as well. What are some of these kids created to work underground? Could they be possibly some of the forsaken ones as well that we were talking about the other day? What is your take on that?
I certainly do believe that some of them are created to do that kind of thing. A lot of them are just the missing people, as far as I was able to understand. If they're abducted when they're 5, they don't have a lot of recollection of the world up here. So
are you saying that some of the kids are abducted at the age of 5 from families living above the earth, stuff like that, and then they get taken down there?
There's thousands of reports every month. People that go missing like that.
Wow. That is just insane. So they get used as slaves and breeders, maybe? Could that be what the breeder program? Food, did you say?
Yep. All the above. Food, breeders, slaves, toys, whatever you can think that they would do to somebody.
Wow. That is so crazy. Just more and more of this information starts coming out.
What you got to understand and realize is none of this stuff is linear. It doesn't just follow a set piece, a script. These evil beings are doing whatever they want while they still have the time to do it. So think about that.
It's like, is it true? When we think, because when I read about these things and you hear stuff like this, it's basically they know they are, the ones that are perpetrating the most evil. They literally know their time is limited on Earth or wherever it might be for them. So they know they've kind of reached the point of no return. So would it be accurate to say that they will do as much as what they can, as evil as what they can, to how many people? Like it's that satisfaction, greed, everything that they can do as much as what they can while they can, just because they can. They know that their redemption is not on the cards for them, so they're just going to make hay while the sun shines. Is that right?
It's unbridled passion, whatever that passion might be. I watched Schindler's List the other day as a movie to watch, and towards the end of that, you would think that the Nazis would have calmed down a bit about their murder of the Jewish people, but it actually intensified towards the end. They just killed more of them. And they're far more cruel towards the end than they were at the beginning. So that's what we can expect out of these things.
Wow. So the crueler they get, actually, and the more obviously they're doing it, because nowadays they're not hiding much from us anymore, are they? They're evoking so much fear in a lot of people. Is that one of the reasons why they're doing it, is because they just want to give us as much pain and fear and make our lives as miserable as possible, because they know their time is limited? Would that be
they're
accurate?
Doing it because they can, just like some goofy teenagers that can drive mom's car and wreck it and feel like they're already in trouble, so why not?
Yeah. May as well just get myself really into trouble, right?
Right. In for a penny, in for a pound.
Exactly. That's tragic. Can you talk to me about gold? Gold mining, gold beneath the surfaces of the earth. What is gold about? Why do they like gold so much?
Well, gold in its purest form doesn't corrode like other metals do. It doesn't decay like other metals do really, really quickly or anything else. And I personally think that it's because that's most of what heaven's made of. I mean, they paved the street with gold there, so obviously it's going to be valuable for some reason here because it gives some of that heavenly glory still. That's my personal opinion on that. So they use it like kind of like a drug would be a good way to say it. Restoration, continuation, that kind of thing.
When you say a drug, are we talking like the way we understand drugs? It's stuff like cocaine or heroin or whatever it might be.
Right.
So how would they ingest that? Like,
well, if you think about it, like heroin or cocaine or anything else, it gives you euphoria. It gives you a sense of well-being. It makes you feel better. It takes your pain away. So it's the same process with gold for them. You've heard of colloidal silver, haven't you? Yeah. Obviously, everybody has it at this point anyway. They don't take it quite the same, but they are able to mix it in a way and take it in a way that's like a drug. And that's an interesting point. Somebody brought up about a secret frequency. You'd be correct about that. There's something that they know about gold that we don't.
Wow. Do you know? I mean, I'd really like to know more about it. Do you know what the secret frequency is? Because if we're understanding what gold is, even just in terms of alchemy, right? Lead being the most dense of all the metals, gold being the most high vibrating.
Lead is not the most dense of all metals.
Okay. So, okay, in terms of gold, what would be the secret frequency or ingredient, if you will, that they are so after? Do you know what that is? And I mean, if we're looking also at the Cabbage Patch Kids, where they're mining, isn't that where they're mining gold as well in that area?
Yes. I will say this much. We'll get to that point here in the future. Without context or knowing other things first, I feel like that's too much information to safely just put out there.
Okay. So we'll leave that for some time in the future then. Okay, no problem. Something that I did want to actually touch on as well tonight, and I just see someone has brought it up, is the dragons. Can you tell us about dragons?
There are a lot of them from different sizes, shapes, and kinds, and they perform different functions. I know that much. They're not all evil. That kind of goes against the grain of what most people are going to learn in the mainstream, but
we're hearing a lot about dragons being kept in China, for example. That there's underground dragons in China. We also heard rumblings that there was, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the royal palaces in the UK from the British royals, in terms of dragons, and you know that they're being chained under there. Would you validate that?
I don't know about validate, but you hear the old stories. They can't all be wrong. You think about that for a second. What they are, where they are, that kind of thing. Some of this is really hard to describe just because you don't have any context for anything. You take a caveman from 3,000 years ago, if that's the true thing, if there were cavemen back then. I think we were intelligent people. They just obfuscated the history. But take a grunting caveman that doesn't know anything and explain to him what a TV is. That's what this is like. It's trying to explain something that is very difficult to describe to somebody who has never seen that or who has very little contact with that. All they know is what they know, what they've been told. What you've been told is probably wrong. So it's hard to just put it out there like, yeah, this is what this is. I guarantee you, if I slip and say the wrong tiny thing, that's going to be taken as solid proof from this and that. I'm not trying to do that either. I'm just trying to get my personal experience with these things. If you go into the book of Enoch, he talks about dragons controlling stars.
Right. What is your experience with dragons on a personal level? Can you share that with us?
Well, I know that I've had dealings with them before. Not good ones, but bad ones.
What is the purpose of the dragons, let's call it in the underworld, the ones that are not good? Can you explain that more?
The good ones and the bad ones?
No, let's just talk about in the underworld, the dragons in the underworld. Yeah, good and bad, if that's what you can. I'd just be interested to know. For me, I remember, and if I can just say this, going back a number of years ago, I was reading up on stuff, and basically what we were told was that there were dragons on the earth, plenty of them a long time ago. And because humans pretty much got scared of them, a lot of the dragons have actually become snakes. They've kind of like transformed themselves to become snakes. I don't know how true that is and what your point on that is. But they're obviously some incredible mythical creatures. And I know, when we're looking at some of the fairy tales and stuff like that, there's some amazing dragons. And as you say, good ones and bad ones. So, and then you're also hearing, I was also speaking to one of my survivors who was gifted to one of the dragons at birth, which was a very tormented experience for her. So, they've obviously all got a purpose, right? Good or bad. Can you expand on that for us, both ways, either or?
Well, there's obviously good and bad things anywhere you go. And we're not given in our natural body to see these things right now, or able to really discern them unless you ask for that kind of discernment. Most of the ones I had dealings with were bad ones. And again, without context, it's really hard to plug into where these things fit into everything around here. But just trying to think about it here. Kind of losing my train of thought here.
No, it's just fun. Aaron's energy is saying here, many tales of dragons protecting piles of gold. What's your take on that?
Well, it goes back to what we just said about gold.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
They're not going to spend it down at the mall. Obviously, there's something about it, some kind of property that appeals to them. It goes along with their restoration or their continued portion in the heavenly lives they used to have. I'm talking about the evil ones.
Right.
So that goes back to the question of gold again, and what gold is and what it does and what it's about, everything else.
Your internet's really bad. Waking up. Caleb, was it me?
No, it's fine.
I think it was your internet.
No, it's fine. It's about the energy in gold, the vibration, the frequency, and what it's all connected.
Yeah, it's not something that I'm really wanting to talk about, the gold. It's an alchemy thing, and it's not turning lead to gold or anything else. It has to do with life. So Without any context, it's really hard to answer that question. There has to be some sort of framework to put it into in the first place. Without that framework, then again, it doesn't flesh out very well. In other words,
Yeah, you need the whole context for it.
yeah.
But it makes sense for me.
She's back.
Okay.
Yes, you're back.
No, it was obviously my internet. Sorry, don't know what's going on here. Wow. Okay. Sorry, I didn't. I mean, I'm not sure where I lost you guys.
Just
Yeah, I'm sure
with the gold.
Right. Wow. And yeah, I'm just looking at Lanessa, and if it was used, and if so, was the real gold, red gold that the Nazis used? What do you know about that?
Again, we're digging deep into gold for some reason. I'm not ready to talk about that yet.
Okay. Well, then let's give gold a miss. We'll move on from the gold. For me, that was just an interesting.
We can pick a pimple 100 different ways, but it's still the same pimple.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big reasons I have such an interest in gold is obviously because of the gold mining in Africa as well. Gold and diamond mining have been that's been the main form of abuse on our continent when it's come to the powers that be that have controlled us. I mean, that's the main things that, and not only. I mean, there's a lot of other.
Red Mercury. Yeah. That leads into gold eventually.
Red Mercury, wow.
So if you want to start with Red Mercury, or like they call it cinnabar.
Yeah.
That's what you should be asking about is, what is that? What does that do? What is that about? What does it lead to? So red mercury is one of those alchemical ingredients that is needed to interact with what you guys know as black goo. Very poisonous, very dangerous.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. So explain that. Can you explain how that works then? Yeah,
again, I'm struggling to find a way to speak it simply. It's a very complicated process and it's very dangerous. And to simplify it, don't put your finger in the socket, is what I'm trying to say. let's put a light bulb in there first so that we turn the light on so we can see what we're doing. It's very hard to do without actually teaching some of the process. Yes, it's a very important ingredient to interact with black goo. Black goo is just a ferrofluid material. That's all it is. It's electromagnetic. And it transmits spirit, if you want to put it that way.
Okay. Well, I think then obviously I'm going to go and do some homework on that myself and to see how that all fits together. But I'm just interested as well what Erin is saying, as Egypt used mercury in their burials, stuff like that as well. So very interesting about that. And Duke, what about silver and its association with werewolves and the moon? I don't know. Can you answer anything like that?
Well, it's kind of like copper with the giants. I mean, things have weaknesses for different things. I'm really struggling right now. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. Are you okay?
I am.
All right. Then I think what we should maybe do is just get off the topic completely, and we can talk about other stuff. You good with that? But if you're not, I know, and you have explained to the viewers before that you did have a panic attack before the show. So if you're not okay, it's really okay.
Well, we'll talk about this at some point, but picking at it isn't going to make me talk about it more. I'll guarantee you that.
So yeah,
Okay,
basically
well then,
gold and Mercury and all those alchemy stuff, not now.
yeah.
Alchemy is a really deep subject.
Yeah, it is.
We're starting to get into some of the other magics with that too, because you don't just do one art. You have to practice all of them in order for them all to work. And we're kind of getting way far ahead of where I feel comfortable talking about some of that stuff. And that's okay. I mean, I'm not trying to not talk about it. But at the same time, I would rather give some context first. But as far as Mercury, gold, red gold, black goo, that kind of thing, that definitely has something to do with the way that they live their lives. And by they, I mean those evil spirits, those evil beings. It's how they're able to come through so easily. They use those things as a medium. You always hear about people being mediums. Well, what is a medium? I would have to ask, A medium is just an intermediary, something that meets in the middle for something else to come through. And most mediums don't get it right because they might hear a whispering or two in their mind about something, but it's not a real, true manifestation of an evil spirit. That evil spirit will kill that medium to come through. So it's a very dangerous profession to play around with. They're overplaying for keeps. That now they're just trying to cause mayhem. So you got to think of it that way too. And they use that ferrofluid or the black goo as a way to transmutate. We heard that question here in the last show about transmutation. Think about it. Transmutation. You're being mutated and transformed into something else. You're not you anymore. You become something different, something more or something less or something worse, not better. That's different than transformation. Transformation is the positive. Transmutation is almost always the negative. So
because that
goes back to the homunculi. What I first said when we talked about that is the quest for the philosopher's stone wasn't to make gold. That's what they turned it into after a while. The goal was to find eternal life. That was the goal. There's been several mages who've actually transmutated and done that.
You're saying transmutation? Are you saying transmutation and shape shifting? Would that be on a similar vein?
No. You can shape shift after you've transmutated. Right. It's not the same thing.
Get it.
You're just imbued with powers that were never meant to be yours, would be what I'd say. Right. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It certainly does. Wow. But I think there's definitely a lot that we obviously haven't been privy to as human beings on this planet. So yeah, I think we'll certainly get there when we need to. So I'm just looking to see if there's any questions in here that we can touch on, or is there anything you specifically would like to go talk about. I mean, we were talking just more or less the other day about the giants and the insectoids and all these crazy things that live underneath the earth, the forsaken ones, that sort of stuff. Is there anything that you would maybe like to, still bring to the fore for us in terms of that?
Well, like I said, transmutation is something that's changing you into something else. And I actually began that process. There's things done to me that I'm still paying for today in terms of coming back out of it. You agree to all kinds of stupid things you probably shouldn't agree to, I guess. For sure shouldn't, but it was all in that quest for power and for life to overcome death. And I know it's how it is with believers when they overcome death by accepting Jesus' sacrifice. I know how that works, so I don't need to be told that again. This other way is a much darker way, and you definitely will, quote, sell your soul to the devil for that, end quote.
Is that be like a cheat code?
Kind of. You can look at it that way if you wanted to. You've all heard of Hermes Trismegistus before, I'm sure. Hermes is three times great. He's one of the first ones that made that transmutation transition. There's a lot of conjecture, a lot of things written about that, but he's one of the very first ones. He wasn't a god at first, he was a human. That is not well known that I know of.
Yeah. So he took on the power. He accepted the power.
He accepted the power. He set aside his humanity and became one of them, just like Nimrod. There's been, like I said, there's been several who've done that. That's like the ultimate goal of these mages is to become like that. And it is a quest for power. You learn how to create. Creating is one thing. I don't mean create something out of nothing. You learn how to dissolve those creatures to make homunculi. That's creation. That's not procreation, but it is creation. To us, I put quotes around creation. I'm not sure if you guys understood that process or not. Oh, she disappeared again.
There she goes again. Yeah, she popped out of there. Thank you, Robin. There was actually somebody. Oh, there you're back.
Yeah, since the internet is not always playing nice with me at the moment. Sorry, I'm on load shedding and all sorts of dodginess going on here. Wow. Sorry, what were you saying, Morné?
I was just, there's somebody who was asking in the previous show as well about what will trigger these, because you spoke last time about these entities, or not entities, these creatures, entity creatures coming up. The army of like 200 million of bugs and stuff like that coming up. What will trigger it? And how can we prepare for it? And are they all bugs, or are they humans and other things as well?
I would have to say yes. I mean, again, I can only come from my own experience, but I'm sorry, I'm really struggling with this right now. So,
No worries.
Obviously, it's okay. Sensitive subject for them. That's why they attack you. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Robinson John. Appreciate your contribution.
Well, what I go through with these things is it's just an indescribable level of fear, because I'm sure that's what I felt when I first saw this stuff happening. And I kind of understood the implications of what was going on. And a delayed reaction. So that's what it is. I mean, you have to understand that somebody who walked as close to that darkness as I did is going to feel that at some point. So this is very difficult to just say. I'm really hesitant to teach any of this to anybody. I don't want to be teaching it. I want to tell you about it. So it is a struggle to come up with the right words, especially when they're attacking you so vigorously. I'm not going to flip off into another panic attack, but it's a physical thing now. It's like I'm actually wrestling with something. It's a strange sensation. They're trying to cloud my head here. They're trying to get me to not talk. It's a real-time attack. It happens. And I'm going to share it with you as it happens. So think about that too.
Yeah.
This is not a game. This is not fake. It's very real. And it takes a lot of strength just to be able to speak sometimes. So.
And we appreciate you. And I'm very happy that you're actually expressing that to the viewers, because I know that about you in the, obviously in the months that I've been talking with you, I know that this is something that is very real for you. And it's really good that you are able to share that with the viewers. So thank you. And I want to just say also thank you to our viewers for being so understanding. I know you guys feel Caleb and what he's going through. And we appreciate that. But please, at any point in time, if you just feel like you want to step off and call it a day, we're good with that, Caleb.
I will let you know if that's happening.
Okay.
Thank you for offering that.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way now. I want the world to see this as it's going on. This is just as important as telling anything else. That people know this stuff is very real, and it can hurt you, and it will hurt you if you're willing to dip your finger into that pool. You don't know that water is not going to crawl up your arm and consume you. You don't even have to jump in. So I jumped in with both feet. I jumped in head first. I did it many, many times. So I'm paying for it now. Just put it that way. I'm more than happy to talk about these things and expose them. That's my mission in life now, is to do just that. But it's not easy. That's what I'm saying. So
we understand. We definitely understand.
It was horrible this morning. It went on for several hours. So it was a bad thing that happened. But here I am. They still couldn't shut me off. I'm still sitting here talking to you.
We appreciate that for sure. Absolutely. We appreciate that. And I think, there's absolutely strength in numbers. Yeah.
Right.
So it's great that we are able, and it's great that you're sharing this, because, we also understand the more you talk about it, the more we are able to, disempowers that hold that they have over you, or had over you. It definitely lessens it. It's wonderful. As I said,
well, if you think about the book of Daniel prayed and asked for something, and there was a prince, an archon, that opposed him for a certain number of days until the archangel Michael was sent in to cause that message to go through. So think about that. I mean, obviously there's something important that they don't want me to say or to be saying. And it's a battle. You have to just fight through it. So I'm not backing down from nothing. This is called being on the tip of the spear. The tip of the spear is not only the most dangerous part, sometimes it's the weakest weakest part that gets blunted. It has to be sharpened by everybody else. Steel sharpens steel. Think about that too. So I'm actually glad this is happening so that you guys can see it in real time. See that this isn't just somebody making up a super soldier story or something goofy like that. I'm really a part of this fight, and I'm here for it. I'm present. I'm still standing. If I can still stand in the face of this nonsense, this attack, so can you. You should take hope in that. Because I do trust God to protect me and to care for me and to push me through. So maybe that's the lesson for today, is you can do this too. Doesn't matter how hard it gets for you or what happens to you.
Perhaps you can. I'm just going to put up Duke's question here. Can Caleb talk about things that interferes with the witchcraft stuff that we can do? So I think what we're asking there is that. Sorry, I'm just going to remind that. Sorry. What can we as people personally actually do in terms of preventing this in our own lives? There's always prayer. We get that. Is there anything that we can do over and above that on a physical level that not just protects?
It's not just prayer. It's also having faith in what you've asked for. The Bible says you have not because you've asked not. So ask for something and believe that that's what you're going to get, because God will answer and send to you what you need for the fight at hand. He's already equipped you. If you accepted that gift, you have armor, you have a weapon. It's really important to use all those tools at your disposal, because if you don't, they're just sitting in your back closet catching dust. Who wants to catch dust, you know? You kind of have to put yourself way out there on the limb.
I was actually going to say that, it's about actually, this is truly the time to act. That's what I'm seeing more and more. Truly is the time to act. And I say that, just from, I don't know if you guys watched my drop-in with Ara on Friday when we were talking about what's happening in South Africa. With the NASA coming in here and doing whatever they're doing and pretty much selling us out to the Bezos Foundation, this particular Western Cape area that the leader of the Democratic Alliance has given the Western Cape where I live as collateral for the Bezos Foundation, and NASA's here tracking whatever it is they want. And because I'm from the Karoo, and Johan Rupert, who's currently clandestinely running this country, right, has brought up Graaff-Reinet, which is the town that I was at school in, and it's my home space, right? One of the most sacred sites in this country. So I shared some of that information with my school group, the people I was at school with. Oh boy, was I hammered by one or two, because it's just, they cannot actually see what is right in front of them. And I think right now, that's what's happening a lot. And that kind of came through for me. And I'm just using that as an example. You, Caleb, what you're doing is you absolutely stepping out there on the front line. And you've been through this experience. You've done so much. And yeah, I mean, going through what you're going through in real time, right? And I think those of us in the know, literally, more and more of us have to start doing this stuff, where we're actually stepping out on the front line, speaking about it, sharing about it, not really being worried about what our family is going to say, what our friends are going to say, what our cousins are going to say, what our spouse is going to say. That I'm finding so, actually, it's tedious now for me already. the time is here. The way that we're going to stop this is, yes, through prayer and faith, but through action as well. Action. We have to actually take action in terms of how we're going to go about doing things. What are we going to do to make the difference, right? In our communities, with the people we love, the ones that we enjoy. So that's really what it is. And I mean, I'm just going back, Duke, what you were saying. How do we do that? Take action. I don't think that we're going to be fighting. We can't fight the giants in the way that these guys in the military were fighting them, right? But we can raise our frequency and raise our vibration in a loving way, and in a way that we actually all are standing unified, where we join hands, we join forces, things like fasting together, stuff like that, and not just thinking everyone else is going to do it. Being spiritual is not just paying lip service. It's really, really getting in there with the nitty-gritty of everyone and everything, and actually acting on the things that we believe in, and forming prayer groups if you must, but doing things, sharing information. If you know stuff, expose it. That for me is what we need right now, because the more we do that, the less power they have. And then that's when, I know, Caleb, I don't know if you've got your sound off now, but I know that's possibly when you're dealing with your doggies. But, that's the kind of stuff that I think we have to be doing.
He's dealing with his wolves, not his doggies. It's wolves.
His wolves, right?
I'm here.
You there, Caleb? Yeah. So for me, it's really about that. What do you say about that in terms of us just physically as a team, moving together and changing that in the way that we can?
Well, it's all going to come down to brass tacks at some point for all of us. We're all going to go through some kind of suffering, some worse than others. It's not going to be easy, and it hasn't been easy. I've suffered for almost a decade now since I ran away. It's almost been 10 years. 10 years on the run. One way, shape, or form or another. And quite frankly, I'm really tired. I'm tired of running. I'd much prefer a straight-on fight than anything else at this point. It seems that's what I'm getting. I have to turn around and slap at these gnats.
Goodbye, Della. Goodbye. Morné, just block this person, please.
Yeah, it's weird.
Seriously. Can't be dealing with that shit. Enough. And I'm just going to put it out there once and for all. If you guys do not like us, what we represent, then please leave. I say that once and for all. And anyone who will judge us because according to you, I'm not Christian enough for you, that tells me a hell of a lot about you. Okay? So I can't be dealing with people like that. We spend a lot of time putting information out there for you and to, I want to say, source people like Caleb. I never sourced Caleb. Caleb found me, actually, and we've been having off-air conversations for many, many, many months. And if you guys cannot appreciate what we're putting out there, then please leave. We do what we can, and we do what we do from the bottom of our hearts. And people like Caleb sit here because he chooses to sit here, and he chooses to share from this platform. He chooses to not be anywhere else, right? Caleb, can you please just say something about that, if you would?
Well, Jesus didn't come to heal the people who weren't sick. He came for the lost. He came for the weak. He came for the ones struggling. He came for the ones who didn't know. If I wanted to be comfortable in a church someplace, I'd have to find a really good church, and I haven't found one yet. I've been rejected every turn and every corner this entire time, pretty much on the run. I'd go to churches and I'd ask them for help. I was turned away. I was turned down. I was told I'd have to go in front of a committee, and it was going to take 6 months to help me. When I was starving today, I was starving. I didn't have any food. What does the Bible say about helping starving people? What does it say about helping homeless people? What does it say about people who are in prison? If you do any of these things to those people, you're doing it to Jesus. And those people dropped the ball and they lost focus. They lost the way. I don't blame them for my predicament, but I do hold accusation against them for not following what they preach, and which they're not practicing what they preach at all. So many lost people in this world that need that help. For a long time, I was one of them. Literally blackballed by this system. I didn't have any way, shape, or form to make any kind of income at all. Nothing. I was living out of garbage cans. I was living out of Little Caesars pizza joints to give you a slice of pizza a day. Even they were willing to help me. A pizza joint. The churches I went to, heck no, they didn't offer nothing to me. So why do I want to bring this message to them when they're not going to listen to me anyway? They've rejected and turned me down at every turn, so I kicked the dust from my shoes at those places and walked on. Walked on.
You know, the way I see it, it's not even about whether you go to church or not, or whether you read your Bible. I think there's so much falsity in that in itself. I myself have found that to be extremely judgmental in my life. It's about watching people's actions. And that's what you said, you know, it's about watching people's actions. It's about observing who they are and what's in their heart. And if people cannot look beyond their little spectacles and to now expect everyone to look through the same spectacles as what they have, and if that is something that you all got to fit the same mold in order to be accepted and then judged accordingly to what you think, then I'm afraid I have a lot of questions about that. It's about who you are. I know what I do. I know who I help. I know the extent I go to make a difference in people's lives. I know the sacrifices I've made to keep this channel going. Rest assured, it'll be very easy for me to shut it down tomorrow and carry on with my life I had before I started this. I can tell you that for sure. It'll be a lot easier, but we choose not to. We choose to bring the information out to you guys out there. And that's really the bottom line. And I can tell you there are so many people on this channel, and there's one lady in particular, you know who you are because I sent you an email message this morning, who, when we do, when we ask for sponsorship and donations for our vets, and I can tell you something, and I'll tell you this now. Who do you think is the veteran that I've been doing sponsorship and donations for? Put your hand up. Who do you think it is? Well, I'll tell you something. He's sitting right here talking to you. That's the person that since June this year, I've been collecting sponsorships and donating to him so that he can have the change that he needs in his life. So that you guys have been a part of Caleb actually being on this channel. That's the person we've been collecting for. That's the person I've been sitting talking behind the scenes to for the last almost a year. And I'll tell you something else. There are many other survivors I speak to, mahala, free of charge, that I don't charge a cent for, because that's the work I do for God. And then I get insults like that from people. Oh, you're not Christian enough. I really want to say something right now, but I'm trying very hard to be impeccable with my word. I find that offensive. I find it rude. I find it disgusting. And yes, Lisa D, you are so right. Thank you so much. And again, I say thank you to you guys for actually being part of this channel. And I say thank you for the support you give us. And I say thank you to our Patreons who've helped. And the other day I had someone complaining because we're going to be putting certain stuff on the Patreon that Caleb's doing. After I'd explained that it was particularly for copyright issues, because when we're going to be doing decodes on the music and stuff like that, you cannot put it on a front channel like this because we get knocked for copyright. And we've already been slammed down. I mean, we were slammed down, I think, at about 35,000 viewers, whenever it was. Often our stuff gets knocked. So we continue on, right? And then I get complaints about, well, that goes against what Caleb is preaching. Are you insane? Seriously, you can't do $1 a month on Patreon. Everyone who's got a Patreon channel or everyone who's part of Patreon understands that your Patreons support the channel financially. We have some Patreons who start at $5 and some of them at $50. And they really form the nuts and the bolts of this channel, right? They form the nuts and the bolts of this channel. So that's how we get to pay for our StreamYard, for our Zoom, for all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And I'm educating you guys here because it's absolutely shocking for me to actually have to even look at comments like that. When we are insulted, accused of being a witch. I'm forever being accused of being a New Age witch. You guys have no idea who the hell I am if you think I'm a New Age witch. Now, I'm sorry, I'm actually ranting a bit here, but I've been frustrated about this for a while. So the bottom line is that if you can't actually understand that there are certain things we give our Patreons because we have to and because we choose to, everyone understands the Patreons are the ones that actually always get a little bit extra. On this channel, they only ever get Jesse's book club, which a week later is then put out there for the rest of the world. So I appreciate you guys. And I'm actually going to call it off now because I'm a little bit frustrated. But I'm actually not, because I'm actually thanking all of you. Thank you, Duke. Thank you, Jay.
Feeling better?
And I'm just saying,
let me pipe up here a bit.
Sorry?
Let me pipe up a little bit.
Yeah.
I really appreciate everything everybody has done. This is not easy for me to talk about ever. And I'm not doing it for fortune, fame, or glory, or anything else. I give that all to God. I will say that in the past, my past, I didn't go downrange for a flag or for a country. I did it for my teammates. I did it to keep people safe at home that I thought needed to be safe at home. You don't know how many times world conflict could have gone a different way if we didn't do what we did. Yes, it was dangerous. Yes, it was horrible. Yes, we had to do bad things. It was also the most exciting time of my life, which is a total contradiction in terms of if you want to think of it that way. But if I became a lawyer, I'd never get to jump out of an airplane at 35,000 feet. If I became a doctor, I'd never be able to lock out of a submarine at 400 feet down. There's a lot of things I would have never been able to do. It was a really exciting time. It was also a really hard time. I did it for you guys. I did it for all of you that needed to be free, one way or another. One way or another. And I'll never forget that that's what that was about. And I appreciate all of you. Every little thing you say, every little prayer, every little thing that you give, that's amazing to me that I even get that kind of response. I'm shocked by it. So I want you to know that.
Absolutely. And it's been amazing to actually have you here. And I know that each and every one of our viewers has appreciated who you are and the information you put out there. So thank you. Yes, Duke, watch this space. Watch this space.
Hot and rolling.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not sure, Caleb, is there anything else you'd like to say after I've had my little rant for today? If there's anything you'd like to say before we end off in prayer.
Well, I do appreciate you, Chantelle and Morné, for what you guys do, and how you guys put this all together, and for having understanding, and you see the bigger picture like most people don't. So I appreciate that from you guys.
We appreciate you too for seeing the bigger picture, like a lot of other people don't as well. And I have to say, we have like Kerry Saint, who's one of our, she's always here. You always there, Kerry, who's our wonderful Australia, I want to call you our Australia correspondent, but the advocate for the adoptees. And, you know, as a healer, I have to tell you, I'm a healer in my heart. I've always been that. I always will be that. No one has taught to me what I know. I was born with the knowledge, and I've just grown with it as I've gotten older. And, you know, for me, over the past 3 years, it's about taking the channel in the direction where we can educate people about everything. So when you look at Kerry Saint, who's an advocate for the adoptees, you look at Alice Parola, who's suffered from her borderline personality and is very open about that. When we speak to people like Jessie Zaberta, oh, the lights have just come on. When we speak to people like Jessie Zaberta, who's been trained
another
in the
hour.
most who's been trained in the most horrific system. And then Caleb, the guy that has been through all the stuff that Jessie, in fact, has been speaking about. I have yet to come across anyone on this planet who's been through what he's been through. He has never had a single memory blocked off. He remembers every single thing. He's never been Men in Black. In other words, bush, take your memory away and block it off. A lot of survivors have had that. A lot of survivors have blocked off their memories. Caleb hasn't, right? So there's a lot of that, you know. The whole objective of this channel is to educate. It's to educate people on human emotions, humanity as a whole. So it's all linking together. What Kerry speaks about, what Alice speaks about, what Caleb speaks about, what Jessie speaks about. If you listen to that, it's all connected. And I so wish you guys will listen to each and every one of those people, not for any other reason, but to understand how through trauma in the womb, adoption, right? The adoption and the stolen children, how that affects the mental health of people, and how that then translates into adults who, like we're looking at Caleb, who's been through stuff like that, who's had the worst kind of PTSD, who's had the worst kind of traumas in the system. And then it helps us understand how, as human beings, you know, even you may not be adopted. You might not have borderline personality disorder. You might not have been to the military and had these atrocious things happen to you. But as a fellow human being on this planet right now, it's your duty to know and understand that, because we are all in this together. We are all joining for arms, hands, and standing up together for each other. I consider myself hugely privileged. I came from a family. My parents were married for 56 years before my father passed away. I'm one of 6. My siblings irritated me because they didn't understand me. I was gifted and they teased me. That's probably the worst thing that I can say, you know. And that is why I do what I do, because I consider myself gifted, that I have not gone through that, and that I really want to be here and create a platform for people who have been through that, who've never had a voice, who've never been told, I believe you, who've never been given the respect of being told, I believe you, and have empathy and compassion for each other. This is why we're here. This is why we're here. I get so many messages. I get so many people reaching out. And this is why I have the Overcomers channel, which is where people, I don't care if you've been a super soldier, right? Or if you haven't been in the system, whatever. By the mere fact that you've had trauma in your life and you are willing to speak about it, is healing, A, for you, and B, for those around you. Because when you do it, it gives others permission to do it as well. And when we all feel like we can be heard, one of the greatest things I've said, what I've understood in my career as a healer, is that there's one simple thing. People need to be heard. And when we can hear each other, then we're healing each other. We don't have to be trained by the best universities. In fact, I would run away from that. Healing is something that comes from your heart. It's a feeling you do because you choose to do it, because you love it, because you love animals, you love humans, you love each other, you want to do it. It's something you are born with. So that's why we are here. That's why we do what we do. And honestly, to get back to my original rant, if you don't think I'm Christian enough for you, please, goodbye.
You know, it's all about the micro. It's micro and the macro. You know, it's like every trauma, even if it's just your personal trauma, we can't, and then we get the SRA. You know, the same physics is involved. You know, it's all abuse, it's all abandonment, it's all. So even if yours is just like in your own home, or it's on like the satanic stuff, at the end of the day, it's the same stuff. It's just, even if it's a micro or macro. So if we get over it, I mean, and Chantelle, just to back you up with these questions right now, you guys, you know, I met Chantelle, my life was falling apart, and I went on my knees and I prayed to Jesus, and I'm like, Jesus, I need somebody in my life, but not a doctor and not a priester. And 2 weeks after I prayed on my knees, I met Chantelle, and 13 years later, trust me, she knows what she's talking about.
my life was going to hell in a handbasket, and I asked God for direction of where to turn. I sent out some emails, and Chantelle was the one that answered. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. That's the same. I mean, my teeth were falling out. My relationships was terrible. I had like corporate work, which was stressful. And I was just on my knees. I was like, Jesus, sorry. It's like, I need your help right now. I need some. I mean, exactly 2 weeks after I made that prayer, Chantelle arrived in Namibia. And she's helped me get back closer to Jesus and everything. So you guys don't know anything.
Well, thank you.
There's so much more to what God is and to what love is, and people don't understand this. There's so much more to darkness even, and we're so easy onto darkness, judging darkness and everything. We don't see it. We don't see God's plan because we're so afraid of our own freaking ways and everything, and we're all judging and throwing stones and trying to be all holier than the other one instead of just listening and seeing. I mean, it's really silly sometimes. It's like, really? But anyways, we push through it. Focus on what you need to do.
Yeah.
So
Indeed.
what I can safely say is, at the risk of trying to out-bad everybody's bad, which sounds ridiculous, but I've been told that before. I know exactly what you're going through on some level, somewhere. I've suffered it. I've been physically tortured. I've been spiritually tortured. I've been emotionally tortured. I've been beaten. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I've been hit by a car, bit by a dog, bit by a snake. There's all kinds of things that I've lived through. And I'm here. I'm still living. I'm still surviving. And I'm still going to tell the story. I don't give a damn what the enemy thinks. I hold that up in front of his face and say, look, your secrets are going to be exposed. And I don't care what you think about it or what you do. I'm not doing this for accolades or anything else. I'm doing it for the people. Bringing it to the people, for the people, and as part of the people. That's what Jesus did. That's my examples. He went to the people. He didn't go to the churches. He went to the people.
Absolutely. And he sat with sinners. In fact, that was his favorite place to be, was to sit with sinners. And I mean, who are we to judge what sinners are, right?
Exactly.
Just people and talking, and we've all got our struggles. I'm far from perfect. Anyone who knows me well knows that. Far from perfect. But I will always acknowledge when I've made mistakes, and I will always try and fix them. And if there's something in me that I know is not right, rest assured, I will do the inner work to find what I need to do in order to get the healing I need. And then when that's done, I love to pass it on to others. I love that. And I want to just
try to point out what Jesus did himself. He went in there and threw the money grubbers out of the temple with a whip in his hand. He didn't hang out with the Sanhedrin or the Pharisees unless it was to prove a point with them. He was with the sick. He was with the lepers. You know anything about leprosy? That's a terrible disease to be involved with, because you can get it caught. You can catch it. And it's a horrible way to go out. He was right there with them, and he was with the people that couldn't walk, the deaf, the blind. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be with the people who wear the beautiful clothes. And I got some things I have to hold my tongue on with too about them. And I'm not judging them. I'm just reflecting back to them what they've shown me. I'm a horrible mirror to look at, because you'll see yourself in a bad way. And I won't be hesitating to show it to you if I have to. That's what Jesus did himself, as he was with the people all the time. And that's where my heart is. That's why I took the steps I did to come here and to tell you what I do tell you. It might sound like a crazy, wild fever dream. And sometimes I wish that's all it was. But it's not. This is a reality, and this is what I'm going to do. So you guys can be blessed with information and knowledge, and you're not surprised by anything that comes up. And yes, it's tough. It's hard. Man, we got each other. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. That's super important to remember.
Yeah.
Looks like Chantelle dropped out again.
I'm just okay, so I'm good. Thank you, Joyful Janine. Am I also hanging?
You're kind of, but not that bad, so you're still here.
Okay. There you go. There she goes. Yeah, wow. You see, people like want one platform for one thing. It has to be focused in one direction. But how can we do it? It's impossible. We are so diverse, and everything in life is diverse. We can't just have one way of doing things and one platform and one religion and one everything. It really, there's so many facets, and every person is different. So that's what I love about our platform. We attract so many different people on this platform, all kinds of people, and we just find common ground where we all can just talk about how it feels to be human, because that's what we're here. We're here to be human. Not just all the spiritual stuff and everything. We just want to be human. And it's nice with our platform that I see all these people coming together where they can just share and be comfortable. And I mean, Chantelle is brilliant with that. I mean, and yeah, so all these other people just if they don't want to, they just go away. They'll just go away if you're not ready for that. We're not going to put up, we're not going to paint our walls pink or purple just because you want it. We'll paint it whatever we want to.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm called to be all things to all men, wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow. Well, I've really enjoyed, and thank you, Joyful Janine, again. You guys are really great in terms of, and it's true, Carrie. Very, very true.
At some point, we'll
And
talk
yeah,
about
more-
my experiences with these churches and what they did and how they did it. So I would love to say something about that, more so than I have
Please
said
do.
here.
I'd love you to share that, actually. Can you?
Now,
Well, you want to hit the 2-hour club, don't you?
we can sure go down.
My
that
rant
road.
is over. I'm feeling better. I was about to go into my bedroom and sulk for an hour, but I feel better.
You can't go sulk just yet.
Okay. So can you tell us about what you experienced in churches, please?
All right, so I said some about when I was in darkness, when we helped collude with and helped corrupt some of those churches with temptation and money and whatnot, sex, you name it, they were falling for it. And now, after I ran away, I figured, oh, look at this $15 million building that they have. That I'm sure they have $100 so that me and mine can eat for today and tomorrow, maybe the next day. Have enough gas in my vehicle to run the engine so it stays warm at night. So I'd go and I'd ask. I go right to the pastor, whom lives in such rarefied air that you can't hardly even talk to these people anymore without an appointment. But I'd force my way in just by walking in boldly like I belong there. I'd go ask these people. It was almost always the same story. We can't help you unless you prove yourself that your faith is real. It's like, well, how do I prove myself that my faith is real? I had enough faith to walk in here to ask you this question, didn't I? And that would just shut them down more. And the other common response was, well, we have to put it in front of the church board and they have to meet on it in a meeting. It's going to be in 3 months, and then it's going to take them 6 months to decide this. The most pressing need that we have in our church is this $10,000 sign we're putting out front, so people know where to come to find hope. I was like, what about me? I'm right here. You could shave off $100 from that 10,000, couldn't you? I mean, I'm sure you could. Right now, you probably got that in your wallet, you know? Oh, no, we have to go in front of the church board. They're not going to meet for another month, so you're going to have to come back then. And then it's going to take 6 months to decide. I was like, okay. Scratch that one off the list. And then went to another one, another mainline church, and they helped us all right. They gave us a $5 phone card, a tube of toothpaste, a roll of toilet paper, and some generic armpit deodorant. No food. And again, you're talking about a multi-million-dollar building with a full staff and everything else. And they couldn't even come up with anything that was edible. You can't put toothpaste on toilet paper and eat it. It doesn't work that way. We needed food. We needed shelter. It was cold. It was, I mean, bad experiences with these churches. Put a sour taste in my mouth for them. I care about the people, but not the organizations, because they're corrupted. And that was my experience just in 2 churches. I went to about 15 or 20 churches over that period of time. The only one that actually helped me out was an old school mainline Lutheran church where they had a homosexual preacher and homosexual woman preacher. They helped me with everything. I was amazed that they did that. I couldn't believe it. They gave us 2 weeks worth of food, $150 for gas, a gas card that was $50, and they put us on a list to go into a shelter someplace. I found a shelter before then, but it was still nice to know that that was available. That's the only time in 10 years of being helped or asking for help that somebody offered more than just the, you can only see us once a month, that kind of thing. It's like, you got a $15 million building. Why can't you fund or help poor people out? You put me in that same position, I'm going to help these people no matter what I have to go through to do it. I'll help them. I will. I'll help them. I've been there. I've been homeless. It's not fun. It's not safe. It's not anything that you want to ever go through. My sulking is over now. Sulking done for the day.
I think we all had a bit of a sulk today and a rant, which is probably a good thing. And I hope everyone also had a sulk and a rant and is over it now as well.
And well, as I know my personality, only like at 12 o'clock tonight, like 2 hours after the show, then I will suddenly go and do a rant and a sulk. I'll only catch up afterwards. Like,
delayed reaction.
Something I can say is these organizations are going to fall. When they do, their wealth is going to be distributed to the people. It's not going to go to one person. It's going to go back to the people where it came from.
So it should be, right? So it should be. Yeah. Because there's been a lot of thieving and sort of duping people, right? I mean, it was interesting. I was actually speaking about churches. I was listening now. I'm not sure if any of our viewers, if you guys have listened to an African lady. She was from Uganda, Erica Makuza. Uganda or Angola. She was one of Africa's top witches, right? And she was basically trained from when she was a little girl, 10 years old or something. She was already taken into the system by her, do you believe it was her grandmother on her father's side. And what happened was that she was, and then she was overtaking her grandmother's powers and stuff like that. And she would say that with all these demon entities that she was housing, she knew. And they would take her to church on the Sunday. She would leave her demons in the bathroom at home, right? Because obviously the church would disturb them. And then they would go to church, right? She would pretend to be casting out demons from all sorts of other people and what have you, being part of that. And she would collect those demons. She would collect them. And when she was, the ones that were now being cast out in the church, and she would collect them. And then when they were pretending to be doing all these cleansings and rituals and what have you, my cat thinks she's getting more food. Then she would literally redistribute those same demons into other people. So, I mean, that's the type of stuff. And what they would do on a Saturday night, they would go to church, like on Sunday morning, everyone goes to church. On a Saturday night, they would go and they would do these satanic rituals at the churches. And then the people come on Sunday, and then these things, or whatever these entities are, would then be taking over these bodies and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm not saying that happens in every church, but it certainly happens. And I think a lot of the churches, I mean, you look at also one of these guys is one of the South African guys that I heard ages ago speak, one of the few survivors that I did hear speak, would talk about how he would go in on they would take him with a statue of, and there would be Jesus there with an erection. And then Jesus, they would take them, and Jesus would be raping. Sorry, I don't want to say the word because I don't know how the channel's going to accept that. But at the same time, so Jesus would be abusing him, right? And then all the diakons. What is diakons in English, Morné? The ones that collect the money and stuff like that. The elders in the church.
The collectors.
Yeah, the elders in the church. They would be the guys that were doing the abuse. So he would then go into church on a Sunday, and all the guys that be abusing him were the ones that were collecting the money and doing all the collections. And then it was just crazy. So it's like this constant cycle of abuse and deception and violation in the churches. I mean, I've always been saying for a long time, the church is the infiltrator. I mean, and hear me nicely when I say that. I'm not saying that every church is bad, but I'm saying these churches have been used to infiltrate human beings, because many human beings go there and they think they are getting God's blessings and what have you. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's a very, very different ball game that's out there. So we have to be discerning, you know, and we really do, and understand that it's not about what happens in the church. It's really about being the person that you are, the human that you are, and really how you feel in your heart and how you act in that way. You know, for me, it's always about someone's actions. People can talk a talk, but can you walk your talk? That for me is when I see the real deal.
Put your money where your mouth is, not where your pocketbook resides.
Yeah.
You sit on your pocketbook. So get your money off your ass.
Exactly.
Get off your ass and go and actually help people.
Exactly. And when someone's in need, do you step up? I mean, you know, for me, it's something as simple. I mean, I took a friend of my mom's dog. He border collie today, for example. It just frustrated me so much, because anyone who knows border collies, I grew up with them. I'm a farm girl. Those are working dogs, right? They work on the farm. I mean, and you've got to see these dogs work in action. I mean, they are something quite magnificent. And you know, unfortunately, so many people have them as these pet dogs in towns, and you can't have that dog, because that's when they go a little bit loopy. So for me, it was just taking you walking. And it was just such a great thing to take this dog walking. He loves the water. He dragged me into the lagoon. I mean, it was just amazing to be able to do that for an animal who I knew, as an animal communicator, I knew how unhappy he was. And I said, I'm taking your dog today. Come, let's go. And it was just for me something so amazing. He was so happy when he got back. He was smiling and smiling and smiling. He was exhausted and he fell asleep. Now, that might not mean much to anyone, but for me, I know what that meant to the dog. So I was thinking to myself today, I actually maybe want to use my Sunday afternoons or Sunday morning and take people's dogs walking that actually don't have time, or maybe they're too old or something. You know, there are too many dogs around here that do not get taken out. So for me, that's my new mission. I'm taking people's dogs walking, because those dogs are so happy when they get out. Dogs need something like 23,000 odd different smells a day to be in good health, and, you know, mental health, emotional health, stuff like that. So do what you can to make a difference to another being's life. It doesn't have to be something massive. You don't have to be going out there and changing the world for millions. Do what you can in the moment for anyone or anything, you know, that will appreciate it. Stuff like that, you know, it really is for me. That's what it's about.
To finish up my church talk thing here, I did have an opportunity to speak in front of a Foursquare church, and it's a supposedly non-denominational, whatever, but I was asked to sit in on some kind of meeting they were having, and all I heard was sad story after sad story after sad story, and the facilitator slash pastor wasn't helping anybody. He wasn't giving them hope, nothing. I sat there getting more and more upset about it, more and more upset about it. And finally, I said, what in the world are you trying to do for these people? You're doing nothing. You're hurting them. You're not giving them hope. You're agreeing with their illness. You're agreeing with their sickness. There's no hope given here. What is wrong with you? And I got removed from that meeting for saying that. So I have stood in front of a church and spoken, and they just kicked me out. So I would expect it anywhere to be doing this.
Yep. I mean, that's actually, it's true, right? I mean, isn't it interesting that, as you say, you give people hope, and the ones that are trying to suppress are actually the ones that don't like that kind of stuff. So, you know, for me, it really is it's about understanding the world is just to spread kindness. You know, we have a bad day every now and again. Just Colleen, I saw your comment, by the way. Have I missed anything? You missed a lot, girl. Trust me, you want to go watch the show again. We were ranting and raving a little bit, yeah. But anyway, I thought that was quite interesting. Funny. So yeah, I think it's amazing, Caleb. I mean, you know, I know you've had a lot to do with the churches as well, and I think they've got a lot to share around that in the future for us as well. But it's great that we can have these conversations, just get real with people. Yeah.
Well, I think it was Lanessa that said the churches abuse SRA people. It was primarily in churches. So, of course, I'm going to be very leery of any church. So, I have to apologize one more time. I know we were going to talk about the underworld, but maybe this is more important this time. Say what we had to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Say what we want to say. I feel a lot better now for not sulking in my room.
Right.
And thank you, everybody, for making me feel better. I feel a lot better. Yay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to bring up? I know we haven't quite hit the 2-hour club, but who knows? Is there anything else you want to bring up, Morné, Caleb? Anyone, any of our viewers as well?
Pick a subject, somebody.
Okay. Pick a subject, someone, that you want to bring up. Let's just see what's
Floor
coming up there.
Let's see what pops up.
That's actually very, Jan, you've got a very, 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 I may explain, Kerry, I may explain why that happened in my next interview, Caleb. Okay, cool. Yeah, Kerry, I look forward to that. Jan, churches tend to not believe those who tell about SRA. That's actually quite interesting as well, because I think that churches invariably are involved with SRA, right? Caleb, what do you know about SRA in churches?
Yeah, it's runs very deep, and it's, from my own personal experience, it was a horrible experience. And the 3 witches that began to abuse me were all church members in good standing. My husbands were deacons, ushers, bishops, that kind of thing. They're also involved in the system. They're lawyers, doctors, judges. So that's been my experience with that.
Now we know why.
Right.
Because And I think you shared with us as well in one of your earlier interviews, right? When you were, I think, 13 or 14, you tried to disclose, didn't you?
Yep, I did. And I was told that I was a liar, that why in the world would I, or why would I dare sully their good names? They didn't give a rat's ass about what was happening to me, what happened to me. They cared about their friend's reputation. That just chaps my hide still when I think about it. So I had to suffer for years after that as a result.
It's just
The
shocking.
energy being stolen by witches in the church. That was kind of the discussion with the soul gems and how they do that. I haven't explained that fully, but we'll get there. Believe me, we will.
Yeah.
But energy transference and how to capture that energy, all those kinds of things. They do it there, for sure.
Definitely. Thank you, Greg. I just gave you our PayPal address there. Appreciate that. Thank you. Churches are not what they make themselves out to be a lot of the time, and I do believe that, again, discernment is necessary. I mean, we look at, for example, I mean, I was interviewing Asia Rain, and yay, if you guys have watched my interview with Asia Rain not too long ago, she was trafficked in the Mormon church, actually. And she'll be coming on again in December, January, which I'm very happy about. But, you know, like the Mormon church, and also Jesse has told us for a long time, the Mormon, you know, the Illuminati has 5 pillars, if you will. And the Mormon church forms one of those pillars. So we're looking at churches like that, the Mormon church, for example. And that is a great source of evil that goes on behind closed doors there. You know, the churches are used as a cover in many instances. And again, I want to say that not every church is a cover, but it's a very, very easy cover, right, Caleb?
You do guess if you can recognize the witches because they act normal or act natural. Actually, they are very, very good at blending in. You wouldn't be able to tell it looking at them first. You'd have to be around them for a minute to see how they are.
If you could describe to us, I mean, just on that note, how they blend in, how would you describe the witches that were your abusers? Were they all fancy dressed? Were they just normal? I mean, I know, for example, if you look at Jesse's proctor, her grandmother, my gosh, you would never in a million years imagine that this old lady was doing the stuff she did. The most unassuming looking old lady ever. But I mean, how would you describe your abusers from that perspective, Caleb?
It's about the same. Very unassuming. Wealthy, of course. Somehow wealth has a lot to do with that. Well-to-do, well-established, deeply entrenched into the system. Always a part of every social function somehow. Those kinds of things. So it wasn't the pointy hat, green-faced Wizard of Oz witch that you think about. It wasn't that at all. Actually, really nice people if you just talk to them on the surface. Really nice people. So
Yeah, and I think, this whole thing that witches fly around on broomsticks with big nose and big, what do you call these things, on warts on their faces. That's so not true, because also when you're looking at a lot of the witches in the system, right? Some of the most beautiful women. I mean, you're looking at a lot of these actresses and things like that who are well known to be witches in the system, right? They are actually gorgeous. They are there to seduce. They are there to draw the crowds in, right? And even the men. What are men witches called? Warlocks. No, they can't all be called warlocks. Or no, not wizards. What are they?
Witches.
The male. Also. Okay.
Mage.
A warlock is a witch slave. It's a term of derision, actually. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we that, and it's true. They will use them to seduce, right? They actually. I mean, which on a broomstick with great big warts on her face is going to seduce a young girl to use her cosmetics or whatever it might be, right? Not going to work that way. So let's be clever, yeah, right?
So as far as really attacking Christians, when I was in that darkness, like I said previously, I was able to almost smell your sin, your imperfection. I could see it and almost smell it. And if you weren't covered, you didn't ask forgiveness or whatever, that was a doorway for me to get in. It was a way for me to get at you. And most times, most people didn't even know that was going on. They just suddenly get attacked, or that we'd get some dirt on them somehow. By dirt, I mean pictures, videos. You'd find people's price point. Everybody has a price point. And that's how that was done. Another thing we do is we cast bind runes. We cast bind runes that we could put on them personally, their items, where they walk. Every time they walked over them, they would activate that bind rune. And it would, again, open a doorway for us.
Wow. I know you were born with lots of spiritual gifts, and if I'm not mistaken, was that the one you're talking about now, literally smelling or seeing that in people? For me as a kid, it was hard. It's like if someone was talking to me, I knew they were lying. And I would say, but why are they lying? And they might not, and I often got myself into trouble, especially when I was young. It's like, Mommy, why is that person lying? And my mother says, Chantelle, you can't say that. What do you mean they're lying? I'm not lying, I'm telling the truth. So it might not be the lie that they were telling in that moment, but it's almost like if they were living a lie or they were doing something which was obviously not honest, I guess. That's what I was picking up on. I mean, are you talking about a similar type thing?
Yeah, yes and no. Mostly fear is a thing, and fear of being caught is a thing. So fear puts up a pheromone. You can mask it all you want to, but if you put off that certain kind of pheromone, some people can smell that. It goes back to the fee, fi, fo, fum thing again.
Right. Makes sense.
And animals
dogs can smell your fear.
Yeah, I wanted to say animals can smell fear as well. Yeah.
It's not just fear. That's just an example. Joe Biden stiffing people.
No. So they can smell all kinds of things.
Well, if you look at a map, I'm going to ruin some people's vision of what they see on a map here. Look at a map in the state of Montana and the state of Idaho. What the outline of it is. state of Montana is sniffing the state of Idaho like Joe Biden. You won't be able to unsee it once you see that.
Exactly. It was so funny, actually, Joe Biden, his sniffing kid. That's like just horrific. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh. Anyway. But it's true. I mean, it's that sense of having that strong sense of something, right? And you were saying in your case, you could literally get that sense of the pheromone, right?
Right.
For me, I could also see when people had illness in the body. Like, I'll never forget, I must have been maybe 3 or 4. And there was this old guy in our community, and I saw a crab, like literally a crab, on his bum. But it wasn't a proper crab. It was energetic. It was, I remember, being gray and murky. And I said to my mother, "Mummy, why has he got a crab on his bum?" My mother said, "Chantelle, you can't say that in public." But then years later, I found out that he had prostate cancer. So I was then able to see the illness, and I didn't know. No one else knew what it was. So it was these types of things, I think, that whether for good or for bad, right? You're obviously able to see them. And in your case, especially with churches, smelling that iniquity. Is that what it's called? Iniquity, right?
Yeah, iniquity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't think I want to make it to the 2-hour mark here, so I didn't get much sleep last night.
I think we've had a great conversation, and I want to just say to everyone, thank you. We're going to do this again. I was actually speaking to Caleb a little bit before the show, and just to actually just sit down and have like some nice conversations like this, questions and answers, and actually expanding on the different questions and things that people have. And we'll do this regularly. So thank you, guys. Really, really appreciate you being here. And for loving me through my rant. It's nice to know that everyone is so supportive out there. I appreciate you. Really, I do. Caleb, unless there's something you want to say, and Morné, if there's something you want to say as well, obviously, before we end off. And Caleb, you can end for us in prayer then.
Well, I appreciate all of you. And there's a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. And at some point, there's going to be some exciting meetings in the future with well-known people. I'm not going to say who, but you'll see it. And stuff in the pipeline coming down. Just be ready. And again, I ask you to pray that these attacks are mitigated at the very least, if not outright prevented. Some physical ailments. And again, I thank you for supporting this veteran. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So appreciate everyone who has supported you over the past few months. Really, really do.
Okay.
Cool. Can you end for us in prayer?
Yes. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. It was a hard fight today for me, especially. I just ask that you cover us with your peace and your love. And we thank you for the opportunity to come together in your name. You're amongst us. You hear us. You listen to us. You honor our faith and our prayers. And I just want you to know that I love you for that. And I thank you for that. I ask you to forgive me for my imperfections and the dumb things that I do. Help me to forgive others as you would do. Help me to see others the way that you do so that I can help, not hinder. I ask that you make the way possible for me to do what needs done in this kingdom, in this battle that we belong to, but it's not ours. Let's ask for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 you.
Thank you, everybody. Really
Beautiful.
appreciate you. And it's Sunday today, so I'll see you with Bryce tomorrow, our favorite nerd. I don't know what body part or what we're gonna. We've been doing.
I think it's Charlie Chaplin. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's Charlie Chaplin.
Tomorrow with Bryce's show, we've been doing people like Cromwell, Matahari, everyone just having missing body parts and limbs and things and heads and stuff. We want to know where they all disappeared to. So that's quite funny. I'm loving Bryce's shows right now. And Caleb, we will see you back again on Thursday. We will see Alice Parola tomorrow. Tuesday. Hopefully Jessie on Wednesday. I know she's had some family stuff that she's had to deal with. Some of her family members are not well right now. Thursday, and Caleb, and of course our beautiful Kerry Saint on Friday. And guys, have a beautiful week, and thank you so much. God bless you all. Take good care of yourselves. We'll see you soon.
Ciao.